Call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Mr. Denton.
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell.
Yes.
Miss Roulette.
Yes.
Mr. Majors.
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes. Next item will be the statement by the Board Vice President.
As we begin this meeting, let us pause for a 60-second moment of silence to reflect, meditate, pray, or engage in any other silent activity. Thank you.
Next item will be the Pledge of Allegiance, led by our Board Clerk, Mr. Randy Roulette.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item will be discussion and vote on the August 10th Board Agenda meeting minutes. Any comments or discussion?
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell.
Yes.
Miss Roulette.
Yes.
Mr. Majors.
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes, thank you. Next item, Ms. Hennis.
Did y'all get voting buttons?
Yes.
On that one I did. I didn't on first. Oh, it's me. 1 minute.
You all can come over here and line up on this side. Good evening, President Allen and members of the board, and Dr. Vincent, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Tonight, I just wanted to take an opportunity to celebrate our Reading Recovery program. We are starting the 10th year of having Reading Recovery in Broken Arrow. In the beginning, we were able to start Reading Recovery because of an I-3 grant that I think, Dr. Vincent, you were part of writing that, and Ms. Jan Grisham were a big part of that, and Jan would drive back and forth to Denton and get trained so that she could be our lead teacher for the program. And so we are continuing that, and the grant ran out 3 years ago, but we had a wonderful family foundation that has stepped up and has been paying for the training of our Reading Recovery teachers. So anytime we bring on a new Reading Recovery teacher, they have to go through a year-long training, but they also get college credit for that. And so the Frank W. Papachon Trust has been supporting our program in that way. And so at this time, I would like for, so I'd like to present you with this certificate just to show our appreciation, but then also just for helping continue the growth of children in BA. We would like to give you this fabulous ivy that hopefully you can look at and just realize like what an amazing contribution you're being for our district. So we're so appreciative. Thank you. Yes, this is Jan's sister. So look how proud she is. Awesome.
Thank you very much for the support. I know it impacts many, many kids, and we've seen that impact over the years through the improvement through the reading of our youth, for sure.
Well, we're so grateful. So at this time, it's been up to $26,000 in scholarships for our teachers.
Great.
So it's wonderful. Also, just to I want to really celebrate last year, even with COVID, this group of teachers was able to bring 63 students to at or above grade level. So that is just so amazing. I'm just so proud. They all are like just die hard. They do everything for kids. And so just to celebrate that, Justin, we only got to do one round. If we would have had 2 rounds, that would just, I mean, double the effort. So, or double the kids that are now set to graduate. So I want to thank all of these ladies in here that are, we're gonna celebrate. I'm going to call them by name, and then Jan is also going to come up and celebrate the graduation of the last cohort that finished at the end of last year. So starting with those that are starting year 9 with us, just Reading Recovery. They've been with the district longer, but starting Reading Recovery year 9. Tammy Allen, and if you guys can just come up to the front, it would be great. Tammy Allen, Kathy Jadon, Nancy Jones, Kelly Soares, and I know that she couldn't be here this evening, and Kelly Sutton. They were cohort 2, and they've been just starting year 9. Then cohort 3 starting year 8 is Laura Cricky, Deanne Gray, Tricia Schomer, Jocelyn Stroud, and Lorraine Wright. Then cohort 4, Aaron Camburn, Corey Heinrichs, Lana Pearson, and Regina Stade. Then cohort 6, so they're starting year 3, is Marcy Armstrong, Cindy Brixey, and Becky Harriman. Starting year 2, Jessica Anderson, Heather Cherry, Rita Johnson, Casey Pebworth, and Carrie Satterfield. And those that are just starting with us, they are in the middle of, or they just started training. That would be Peggy Ayers, Jennifer Jennings, Gina Tackett, Danielle Terry, and Catherine Ward. So, and then of course our fearless leader, Jan Grisham. So I'll let her come up right now.
I can't tell you how incredibly proud I am of this group of teachers. I couldn't have trained anybody better. Handpicked, of course, by me. So we do tonight want to graduate last year's cohort because I usually do a graduation at the end of every year for my new girls, and we weren't here. So we're going to do that tonight. So we'll just do it in the order that's on there. Okay, Carrie. I have for them, and I have for my trained teachers. You know, you got Texas pens when you graduated. Well, now you get an Oklahoma pen. And that's just a little good for me. Congratulations, Carrie. All right, Heather Cherry. Casey Pebworth. Yeah, she's excited. That's what's so fun is they're so excited. Jessica Anderson. And Rita Johnson.
And just a touch, just to give some perspective of the growth that these teachers have helped an average first grader from the beginning of the school till mid-year will grow 5 months. This team, the smallest amount of growth was 8 months. The largest amount of growth was 15 months from the beginning of the year to mid-year. So just amazing, the amount of growth. And I shared with you all drew an arrow to see where the average child should start at the beginning of first grade and how low some of the kiddos were, that these teachers grew above and in some way beyond. So thank you very much. You have anything else to say? No? Okay. You want to take a picture? Oh, wait, we got to take a picture. Can we take a picture? Or is that? Absolutely. Okay. Yes, masks on.
Before we take the picture, can I just say a few things? This is so near and dear to my heart, and Jan knows this. You know, 10 years ago we started this program. We didn't know how we were going to pay for it, just saying, because we jumped off a cliff. We knew this was the best thing for kids, not only in the United States, but in the world, and we had no idea how we were going to pay for it. We went out for a grant. And Jan, thank you for taking a leap of faith. This lady drove miles and miles and miles for the training to make this happen. And thank you to your family, because I know that you, once the money ran out, they put their own money forward to continue making it happen. Thank you, ladies, because I know that the training for this is intense, and you put your heart into this for our kids and make it happen for the kids who oftentimes don't have a voice. And it makes a difference not only for those kiddos' lives, but for generations to come. You're changing the trajectory of their lives and for their children's lives and for their children's children's lives, because the difference in literacy is just paramount. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for those children. So, okay, let's take a picture.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for everything.
A little emotional. Yeah, that's big stuff.
Okay, next item, Miss Grace.
All right. Good evening, Dr. Vinson, President Allen, members of the board. I am so excited to have our foundation friends here with us tonight and present to you a $20,000 donation. This donation, y'all come on. This donation is for 5 of our middle school classrooms, 1 classroom at each middle school. These classrooms are innovation classrooms. They're going to help get our kids there ready for innovation, STEM Academy style of learning. I'm so excited about that because that's something my kids are going to get to experience. And this is a program that's really going to affect thousands upon thousands of kids. So we're really grateful to our foundation for helping us get those classrooms started and off to a really great start. So I'd just like to ask for y'all to approve this donation tonight.
Make a motion to approve. I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Awesome. And can we get a quick picture real
Yes,
quick?
absolutely. Absolutely.
My voting buttons are not showing up.
We greatly appreciate the efforts of the foundation and everything they do, because they make a huge impact to our teachers and now in our children as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and I logged out. I'm gonna log back in and see.
Get behind Greer, they won't be able to see you. And he said favorite too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
He was everyone's favorite.
There we go.
Thank you all very much. We did vote. We'll vote again. We'll double approve it. Okay, next item will be comments from the public. We do have one commenter this evening. Mr. Fongelsrud, you will have 5 minutes to address your topics. Normally, we give 3 minutes for non-agenda items, but we're going to allow you to have the 5 minutes to address all your topics that you requested.
Not 3 and 5 for...
No, there's not 8
comment?
minutes. It's going to be the maximum of 5.
Fair enough.
Yep.
My topics are changed. Members of the board, my topics did change just a little bit here. I had some prepared comments, but I'd just like to say what a wonderful thing for the teachers to be able to gather and to celebrate some of their accomplishments. I think that's wonderful. Isn't it nice for them to come together and to gather and to acknowledge their accomplishments? It's a great thing. Oh, I'm going to leave my mask on, President Allen, because that's the policy as stated on the front door. So
Hold on a second.
Forgive my
Hold on a
mask.
second. Since you're going to address me like that, first off, you don't know my health concerns,
I'm just...
okay? So to call me out like that, I don't appreciate that.
I'm not calling you out.
Okay.
I'm just commenting that
I
other
know,
people
but I'm
have come
commenting
up.
to you as well, okay? So
Sure.
know my health concerns, and then you can address me about my mask,
Sure.
okay? Thank
Other-
you.
Other people have
Thank
come
you.
up and taken off their masks.
Thank you,
I just
okay?
was commenting.
Yeah, but you didn't have to address it to
personally
me. So thank you.
Okay. Thought you were well, go ahead. So I thought that was a great thing that they could come together. Tonight, I come to discuss the restrictions placed on academic activities as it relates to the district COVID response. Last month, I came and I asked if a football game is more important than classroom instruction. I didn't receive an answer to that question. I have another question tonight, but first I want to tell you about a group of students that achieved academic excellence. These students were to gather so they could be inducted into a National Honor Society, much like the gathering you saw tonight. The district has denied that event. The district is allowing football games. The district is even promoting a cornhole tournament the very next day. My question tonight is, why do you think it's okay to discriminatorily restrict National Honor Society induction ceremony while allowing a cornhole tournament? Now, on to the agenda items. Item 20, tonight's agenda is to accept and approve a new lease agreement between the Broken Arrow Public Schools and the Broken Arrow Amateur Basketball Association. This is to provide a lease facility for youth team practices up on 12 elementary gymnasiums throughout Broken Arrow School District. I do not feel that this lease should be executed if we are restricting functions, school functions, and denying the use of facilities for things like Honor Society induction. The item 70, operational services. I think this is great. STEM, the money to build a STEM innovation center is fantastic. I hope we can have a facility that is outstanding as we do for the indoor football field, those great soccer fields that are over on Lynn Lane, and the $1 million softball bleachers that are coming. I hope we have excellent STEM facilities. I think that is a great thing. And last thing on the executive session tonight, I really feel that the district is discriminating in the manner in which they are applying these COVID rules and not allowing certain activities. We're allowing sports. Thousands of people gather for a football game. They gather tonight to honor these teachers. Why can't academics be honored as such? Things like bot ball and robotics activities are canceled. National Honor Society induction ceremony canceled or turned virtual now. Why can't those come together? Why can't we have the same honor for those students that have achieved excellence in academics? Those are my comments for tonight.
Thank you. Next item, number 8, Mr. Tolomeo.
Good evening, Dr. Vinson, President Allen, and members of the board. I wrote that down just so I wouldn't mess that up. I'm here to present the quarterly-ish construction update. Yes, please. It's been a while since we've had one of these, so it's a little longer than some of my other ones have been, but I'm pretty excited about this one.
Yep, let's see it. Mm-hmm.
So these are all the projects we completed in phase 1, and then some additional projects we completed with some remaining bond funds. A lot of it was completed with interest we accumulated with the trust funds. And then over the summertime, we got quite a bit of projects done with maintenance. So I did want to sort of take a step back and look at that. Some of the bigger ones have been, we added hand wash stations to several school sites that didn't have them in cafeterias. We added bottle fillers. There's at least one in every single school. Our next shipment is due in next month, and we're going to add a second round. Our goal is to get our number below 1 bottle filler for every 300 students. And then the newest one that we've added on here is we added bipolar ionizers to fine arts spaces currently. So middle school on up, every VPA area has a bipolar ionizer, and we have started putting them in the elementary schools, and we only have 5 elementary schools remaining that need them. Once we're completed with those, we already have additional ones ordered, and they're going to start being installed at the high school gymnasiums, auxiliary gyms, and then go on down to the middle school level and elementary school level as we get those in too.
Mr. Tolomeo,
Yes.
can you remind me what those things are for?
Bipolar ionizers, actually, they work very similarly to our Tersano machine, and actually what we clean our turf with, it's an ozone machine. So it's that same technology where it adds an extra molecule and sanitizes the air. So it's just an extra step of cleaning our air.
Oh, okay.
Is that the
Thank you.
BioEsk? Is that,
No, the BioEsk is a cleaner, like a spray-on cleaner. This is something that we install. We're installing it with our own maintenance technicians. We install in the HVAC units.
So it's part of the air filtration.
It's not air filtration. It literally attacks mold, mildew, fungus, and viral growths, and it kills them at a molecular level. So it's not like you hear the term HEPA filtration.
Right.
HEPA filters filter out, they just filter the microns up to a certain diameter of the particle. These literally kill the virus or the bacteria or the mold. So it just kind of takes it an additional step. The HEPA filters restrict airflow, so it'll actually be detrimental to what ASHRAE recommends for airflow. So that's why we have elected to do this at those spaces versus the extra filtration. And you hear about I can put that HEPA filter on my desk. Well, the coronavirus isn't like airborne in a sense that it will be sucked up through the HVAC. If you have it and you sneeze, it kind of hovers in one area. And ASHRAE is recommending that you just introduce additional outside air to the environment to help basically dilute the amount of pollutants that are in the air. So this just ensures that what we're providing into the room is the freshest, cleanest, most sanitized air.
Okay.
And Mr. Tolman, you said that you were starting with the fine arts areas. Why did they have fine in first?
Because I'm trying to think of the correct term. Because they exchange and blow bodily fluids and sing, and there's no real there's no real way to do it other than this. The Oklahoma Department of Fine Art, Visual and Performing Arts published their research. So they actually recommended HEPA filters. So we met with the fine arts, and we all kind of agreed that there were a couple other things that were going to be better for us as a district than just the HEPA filters. This is actually cleaner, it's safer, and it's better for those spaces than the HEPA filters. So we got quite a bit done. We kind of had to take a step back and relook at what we were doing last summer. So our focus has changed quite a bit. In phase 2, we completed Rosewood and Childers Elementary School and the baseball entry plaza. And we're currently under construction for the STEM Innovation Center and VOAG facility. And under programming, we have Oliver Middle School, baseball phase 3, baseball softball phase 3, and field house renovations. Rosewood Elementary School, I'm going to take a couple seconds to geek out about the next few projects, so I'm sorry. This is the front entry. You can see the water cistern there. You can see the solar panels and wind turbine there. And you can kind of see what it was rendered to look like and what it actually ended up looking like. The pod areas out here are additional just classroom spaces. We furnished these a lot differently and equipped these with technology a lot differently than we have in the other ones. So we think they'll be utilized more. We actually have mobile whiteboards in that area. All the furniture is very, very flexible. And these are the classrooms. Obviously, this was before the teachers got in here and moved the furniture around and reconfigured everything. This is the media center. Again, completely different furniture than we normally do. All the tables actually flip and nest, much like these tables in here do, but they're whiteboards. So small collaboration groups, you can flip it and you can use it as a whiteboard, and they're on wheels, so highly movable. And then this is our outdoor classroom, and all the plantings, all the raised flower beds, everything water-wise in this area is fed off the water off of the cistern, and that cistern is filled with the media center runoff. So everything, when it rains, the media center goes straight into that, and it is full. 2 good rainstorms filled it up, and it's working.
Cool.
STEM Innovation Center, we had our topping out there a couple Fridays ago. This is the front entry of it. This is where it sits. You can kind of see that Casey's in that bottom left-hand corner. And then this was a 3D model that our architect printed out. This has 4 communities in it. It is, it's kind of a split level. You come in on the 2nd floor and then you go down to the 1st floor. And the VOAG facility will also be moved out here. And it will have 2 pen barns and 1 show barn. And then this is a rendering of what it looks like. So you can kind of see that promenade that comes underneath that 2nd floor, if you will. And it kind of looks like a big cantilever structure. And we have a couple greenhouses out here. And this is our learning stairs and our maker space. And we actually did a drop wall. You can kind of see it at the bottom picture. You can kind of see it at the very top, where kids will be able to drop things and it will measure the rate of speed that they increase. This is the entrance to a learning community and a collaboration space and a wet lab. So each community will have a regular classroom, a studio classroom, a wet lab, a dry lab, a collaboration space, 2 team rooms, which are small, maybe 3 to 4 person meeting spaces. And then here's the show barns. This is the facility on the drone flight, what we're actually doing is Mr. Sean Hill is doing all the drone flights for the construction company with this. He's using their software, and him and Mr. Spencer are going to, in the next few years, they've been tasked with creating a drone curriculum. So the makerspace within this STEM facility actually has they're a lot like theatrical curtain hoist systems where they can raise and lower, and they can hook up hula hoops and practice drone flights and things like that. And that is actually one of the packages you guys are accepting today is those hoist systems. So it was an allowance assigned within the GMP, so we finally got someone to bid on it. And here is the topping out. And here are some additional drone photos. You can see the crane and the cantilever structure, and that's actually on the left side, kind of going up. That is actually the roof to the first floor, and we've designed it to where if we ever start teaching mechanical systems, we can go out onto the roof of this facility and be able to show real-world applications on how the mechanical systems integrate into the own building that they're using. With that, Flintco and the drone flights and us, we're the first school district to do a fully integrated BIM design, which means we took building information modeling all the way through the design process, and they'll have closeout documents, and they'll have like it in a 3D headset where you can put it on and walk through the building and explore where's the drain line to this sink go. Oh, well, it's under the ground I'm standing on, and it goes out that way. And so that's really, sorry, geeking out. And then this is that second floor. You're looking back at it, and underneath, that's all promenade, sidewalk area. And then you can see that first floor. And it's really starting to take shape, and there are the barns out here. And I think our VOAG teacher, Mr. Arthur, is really excited about this. He doesn't really even know what he's about to walk into. So, Childers Middle School, we finished this project up. These are two additions that we did out there. We did a choir edition and a science room edition out there. And okay, so going back to Rosewood, we did a safe room out at Rosewood. We have a hardened area of refuge both here and at STEM. And why they're not safe rooms is we didn't design everything having to do with safe rooms. There's a specific legal requirement to safe rooms. But structurally, they're safe rooms. They just don't have the bathrooms that a safe room requires. But they'll stand up to those same 250-mile-an-hour winds that a safe room will. So here are the two additions. The one on the right is the choir room. The one on the left is the science wing. And yes, we have ballistic-style glass for those 4 science rooms. So we were able to introduce natural light. And then in the choir room, we did the solar tubes that recently got their FEMA certification. We also reconfigured their bus loop. It has an entrance off of 121st, and I don't think transportation has ever been more happy with a site. And then these are all the areas, all the hashed areas were the areas we renovated. Here's a rendering of the media center, and here's what the media center looks like. Oliver Middle School, we're still in programming at this school. We've programmed slightly throughout coronavirus shutdowns. We've programmed with the site on a few occasions over Zoom meetings and things like that. Out there, we're going to do an addition and add a media center out front. We're going to reconfigure where the Oliver Memorial is and move it kind of more focal point, and we're going to reconfigure the front office to make it a little bit more secure, increase the nurses area. We're going to move counselors upstairs, renovate the counseling offices. We're going to renovate the old media center into several classrooms and move the Gateway to Technology classroom. Do you guys have any questions? I know I tried not to geek out too hard.
Can you remind remind me when the ag stuff will be completed, the ag buildings and things like that?
The whole STEM facility, including ag, will all be open for the August 2021-2022 school year.
Okay.
So it'll be open this time next year.
That's cool. I'm telling you, it's been such a long time coming, and, you know, I don't know what they'll feel like. I mean, moving from what they've had over, I mean, even when I was when Mr. Allen was in school, that's a long time ago, but, you know. But that's cool. It's finally, it's nice to see. I mean, the renderings are coming into fruition of what we thought it was going to be like and stuff, and I mean, it's absolutely impressive, so thank you.
No
Yeah,
problem.
you have every right to be geeked out. That's really cool.
Thanks.
It's really cool.
Now, all of these projects are from the 2015 bond, correct?
Yes,
Except for baseball, softball.
correct.
And remind us why baseball, softball is a project.
Baseball, softball bleachers are non-ADA compliant. So we had, like we did on phase one, we had some interest money that we've already incurred. So we're going to go ahead and rip that Band-Aid off and start with that project.
But remind us why the Band-Aid even started. What happened?
Oh, we were hit by the
There you
tornado
go. We got hit by a tornado.
a year and a half ago. We're just now getting around to it. So,
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
thank you guys.
Next item, number 9, Mr. Bowser.
Fantastic. Dr. Vinson, President Allen, members of the board. This evening I wanted to give you an update on just COVID-19 data regarding the district, our general population tracking with regards to our zip codes, city, and then also kind of delve a little bit deeper into the data just to kind of give you a very specific case study that I think will kind of frame the conversation. Since I started tracking, we've been at 45 days. So I started tracking this data 45 days ago. So I feel like I have a pretty good handle on, where we are. So the first chart is in your there before you is this data presents a picture of at the very beginning when we decided to postpone.
Hold up a minute, we don't have charts.
Oh,
here.
sorry.
It's on the
Okay.
board.
Okay, got it.
It's not on
Okay,
here either.
got it.
It's on
Okay.
TV.
On
Put
the
it on here.
So this tracks the data from the moment that we decided to push back the start of school until now, and what you can see is a pretty significant decline since that time. It was I'm not sure as to the reasons why COVID-19 was spiking so high at that time, but it certainly looks like, given the benefit of hindsight, that it was the right move to be able to push back the start of school. Now, the interesting thing is that the next item here shows what it looks like since we started school. So it's been pretty flat. Which to me is a really good sign. It's not like we opened the doors and all of a sudden there was a COVID-19 spike around the city or within our zip codes and all of those kinds of things. So I feel like that's really good information to have.
Mr. Ashton, on the Wagner County, does part of that also represents part of Coweta, correct?
Yes, it's
Okay.
all of Wagner County. It
That's
is
fine.
not
I
just Wagner
just wanted
County
to
and Broken
clarify.
Arrow. Yes. Now, the interesting thing is since we pushed back the start of school, this is the overall declines in the COVID-19 rates. So our zip codes have fell over 40%, City of Broken Arrow over 34%, Wagner County, Tulsa County have both fell 18 and 33% respectively. So again, that kind of puts in perspective that first chart that showed the initial pushback from the start of school to where we are today. Now, as I indicated in our last discussion, it is a flat line right now, which is not good. It's not where we want to be, but where it is flatlining today is better than where it was flatlining when we decided to push back the start of school. Specifically, I wanted to spend a little bit of time just talking about yellow and how difficult it is to reach. You know, we have been in orange for this whole time. Never once have we been in red, never once have we been in yellow. We've had zip codes that have made it to yellow. Wagner County has flirted off and on with yellow, but never has maintained it. And so I wanted to kind of dig a little deeper into the data and just kind of show you why that is. This particular item shows you that this is the maximum number of new cases on a daily average that would be that we would have to maintain in order to stay in yellow. So all of our zip codes combined, if we exceeded 22 cases, if we made it to 23 cases, we would move to orange. In the city of Broken Arrow, if we averaged 16 cases a day, then we would move to orange. The larger numbers there, the 11 and the 9, those represent over the past 45 days the number of days where we've had cases lower than that average. And so it is pretty significant when you talk about the threshold of only being 23 cases for a daily average over the course of a week. This next chart will give you an even clearer detail. So this is broken down by broken down by zip code. And these are the thresholds that if we exceed these thresholds, then those particular zip codes would be in yellow. And these thresholds are for the entire week. So 74011, if they exceed 25 cases over the course of a single week, then they move to orange. 74014, it's 34 cases. 74015, it's 8 cases. If they exceed 8 cases in the course of a week, just averaging over 1 case a day, they would move from the yellow to the orange. And so that is a pretty, I just wanted to kind of put that into perspective. 74314, okay, that's a part of our population that serves Country Lane Primary and Country Lane Intermediate, Centennial Middle School on the north side of the district. 15 cases in a week. So I could have a family reunion on the weekend and invite 20 family members. We all get COVID, and all of a sudden that one instance has put that whole zip code in the orange. The reason I mention this is because, put another way, the weekly number of cases cannot exceed 0.1%. If it exceeds 0.1%, then we're in the orange. And to me, that's pretty astounding when you think about the number of cases that cause that to happen. The reason I mention that is because I feel like with us and where we are today, and the fact that we started school, we're not seeing a change one way or another. It is a flat line. I'm going to be candid. I don't know that. Until something dramatic changes, I don't know how we ever even get to yellow. It's evident to me, at least anecdotally, you can point to masks and say that they are causing some positive effect for us to be able to have school. One of the things that we've talked about is that with our virtual numbers the way that they are, our site levels of student population are lower, and so the hope is that will allow us to continue to have school because that provides more space. Physically in the buildings, this is one of the things I revealed to our leadership team this morning. Physically in the buildings, the largest elementary school is 500 students in the building. And so I feel like with that allows us to be able to provide social distance opportunities and maintain, our ability to stay in school.
Mr. Bowser, with your numbers, the 74102, did you say that was 20-something cases in that zip code to make it go to orange? Or
74012, okay, it's 57 cases in a week. So if it gets 58 cases in a week, and if you divide that up, obviously over the course of a week, you're talking about, a little more than 8 cases a day. So if it averages more than 8 cases a day, that zip code moves from yellow to orange.
And achieving yellow is going to be difficult because larger percentage of those people in that zip code are not even students of Broken Arrow.
Yeah, I mean, we're
66,000 people in that zip code, I believe.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we've got 34% of our students are in that zip code.
Yes,
so
that is correct.
That's going to affect us.
Yeah, it's very difficult to gauge. You know, we can't just look at the city because, you know, we serve more than just the city of BA. But we can't really parcel it out and say, well, these zip codes are 100% because there are kids outside of those zip codes that don't attend Broken Arrow Public Schools. That's why all along we've tried to look at city, zip codes, Tulsa County, Wagner County. Now, the fortunate part is if you go back to that early graph, they all are tracking relatively the same way. You can see some nuances there. I mean, Wagner County obviously has been the lowest all along. But to me, I guess my point really here is that I want you to kind of understand the state that we're in today, that we feel like this really evidences the fact that the pushback of school 2 weeks was the right thing to do, that the start of school hasn't had a significant impact on COVID-19 and the spread of the coronavirus. So I feel like we're doing things the right way and proceeding in the safest, best way for our kids, for our staff, for all those that are involved. That's really all I have.
Well, and I appreciate the overview of the numbers because, again, I feel strongly that, we can get chastised for whatever decision we make, but the thing is looking that, we continue the practices of, wearing the mask, we continue to clean the rooms, sanitize the rooms, clean the buses. We're executing on the plan, and that's, to me, is key, is we I think you all put a comprehensive plan together, and you're executing on it. And to me, this is the results of effective execution of the plan. And I say, we're continuing to do that. I think we continue to evaluate. That's exactly what we said we would do. And so, again, hats off to each of you and the administrators, the teachers, and all that are doing the things that we said we were going to do, the bus drivers. I think we stay the course. And I'm happy to see this because, I can't tell you how many times, you get a few people that may have not been happy with our choice, but so many of the kids, you can see it in their faces,
Yeah.
you can see it in their attitudes. My granddaughter I have a granddaughter that's going to kindergarten here in Broken Arrow Public Schools, loves it. So to me, the social aspect and getting the kids back to their routine is so important. And the influence that the teachers are giving them is even more important. So thank you for everybody that put the plan together. Thanks for continuing to support it and execute on it. Job well done.
I appreciate the updates you're giving us weekly
Yes, sir.
on those numbers. That's greatly appreciated.
Yes, sir.
So
Well, and we'll
are
continue.
informed.
We'll continue to do it, and because I feel like it's, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict what it's going to do, but I think it's important for us to continue to monitor it on a routine basis. So.
And I think it's important, too, that people know that with our district, the kids we're serving, the zip codes don't necessarily tell the true tell of all the COVID cases they're
Right.
not all in our district.
Right. That doesn't tell the total story of what is happening inside our building at our school buildings. It doesn't do that. It just gives us a guide. It's a compass, to be able to provide us direction, to be another resource so that we can make informed decisions. So we can't ignore the data, but we can't be a slave to that data either. So
Our district's split in 2 counties
yeah.
and multiple zip codes that serve are encompassing other districts, students, and families
Yeah.
as well. So there's a lot of
crossover.
moving numbers and parts
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah. For sure.
Well, and I think people keep looking to us and to everyone to control this, and we can't. We can do the best we can to have safe practices, but we can't control it like no one else can as well. But we can do the best we can to have safe practices. That being said, we are begging parents and begging students if you're not feeling well, stay at home.
Mhm.
Just be safe. And if you really feel like, and it doesn't matter, you may go down through the list of things and think, well, I'm just not sure. If you're not sure, just stay at home. You know, be safe and come back to school when you're feeling better.
Yeah.
And that's how we keep each other safe.
And Mr. Bowser, I just want to ask, this information that you give us, is it available on the website to parents?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it's the specifics about yellow. I haven't put that on the website, but the routine information about our zip codes, the city, the county, all of that data is available on the website.
Great,
So,
thank
and I personally update it every day, and I try to do it on the weekends even to make sure that our patrons have that information available to them. So
Great, thank you.
And we do expect to see fluctuations of students and teachers and employees being out, either from positive cases or from contact tracing, and we're prepared for that.
Yeah.
But, you know, as he said, right now, we just see it a pretty steady, flat line. And it may be that we see an uptick for a while and it'll come back down, but for right now, it seems to be staying pretty steady.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item will be the general consent agenda items 11 through 69.
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Thank you. Next item, Ms. Birdwell.
Good evening, Dr. Vincent, President Allen, members of the board. I have a couple of items tonight. The first one being bids within our STEM Innovation Center. These are for bid packages 11L and 32C. And Mr. Tolomeo talked about them earlier, but one of them is for the rigging that we carried an allowance for, and now we have found a bidder for it. And it was over the $50,000 mark, so we did have to take that back to you for approval for the rigging system, and then also for the parking lot. So when we first bid the project, we carried money in there for unsuitable soils in case, you know, we have soft spots. For the pier depth allowance, so the piers, if they hit bedrock sooner, then we don't have to take them as deep and we get a credit back. And then unforeseen conditions. And now that we're topped out, you know, we've raised that last piece of steel and we're out of the ground, so to speak, we are ready to add the alternate for the parking lot. This is a secondary site, a lot of student drivers, and currently the parking lot's only about 100 spaces. That's what's required by the building code, but we know we're going to need more. And so the add alternate will get us up to closer to 500 parking spots, and we would like to use the monies left over within the project to pay for that alternate, and we rebid that item, so we would ask you to approve those bids tonight.
Questions or discussion?
Make a motion to approve?
Second that motion.
Motion and second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette? Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
You have voting,
Yeah,
buddy?
no voting button.
You should have them now.
But I don't.
Nope.
It's working its way.
It's not cooperating.
Hmm.
I have it manually.
Okay.
Okay.
Next item, Ms. Birdwell.
And our next item is the bids for the baseball softball bleacher replacement, and some alternates along with that. As Bob spoke earlier, we will be using the interest left on the trusts so the first trust from the phase 1 sale of the 2015 bonds and the second phase of the trust for the 2015 bonds to pay for those bleacher replacements. Helps us get ADA compliant and dress up some of the site there, add some storage to dugouts, and some brick veneer to help us with, you know, drainage and everything else, all the other issues we have out there.
Are we on 71 or
71.
70 here?
Yeah, it's not that
It's We'll do it manually. Everyone has their agenda.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Birdwell.
And so I ask for you to approve those bids tonight.
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Birdwell. Next item, 72, Ms. Eniff.
Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Vinson, members of the board. So I have several budgetary items on the agenda tonight, and we'll start with the estimate of needs. So the estimate of needs, as you're aware, sets our cash budget for the year. It's that budget that goes to the excise board for approval and basically sets our ceiling for our appropriated funds. So a couple points to highlight on the estimate of needs. First thing you'll notice when you're looking at our general fund balance, that we increased our fund balance from about $15.5 million to $18.7 million. So this was due to a couple factors. Obviously, conservative spending went into it, but also COVID had an effect into that. We shut down operations in March and realized some savings for that. So that is a very positive thing for the district because we are going to need every dime of that going into a very uncertain year, ending in 2021, and then going into 2022 with even more instability. But the main thing I want to talk to you about the estimate of needs tonight is the values that the district received from our respective counties in Tulsa and Wagner County had a couple nuances this year that we haven't experienced before as a district. So I will start with Wagner County. When we received our value from Wagner County, it had increased quite a bit, more than the typical 3 to 4% that we forecast every year. And I immediately got on the phone with Assessor Hodges and asked what was the large increase. She immediately responded that one of the large utility companies in our district was sold last year, and when it was resold and revalued, the assessor's office deemed that it had increased significantly. However, this entity has since filed suit with the Wagner County Assessor's Office to dispute this valuation, and they do not agree with the value that was placed on it. So what that means for Broken Arrow is that while this is in dispute and protest, all of their tax money goes into escrow. We will not receive any funds from them until the court renders a decision on that value. So they represent about 13% of our overall value from Wagner County, which is about $3.5 million to the school district while this is being mediated in court. Obviously, that is a very devastating blow to the district and our budget situation going into this year with unknown funding from state revenue and our state aid. But this is particularly hard hitting because I tell the board every month, every year, that ad valorem is one of our most stable sources of revenue. And now this revenue is in jeopardy because of this protest. So the other caveat that was thrown into this protest is that the entity is filing the McGirt decision in with the protest, basically alleging that Wagner County does not have jurisdiction to try this case because it is on Creek land. And so it's going to be probably a long, complicated road for the courts to work this out. And so meanwhile, as the district, we're left holding the bag, to be quite honest. So we are most likely not going to be realizing any of those revenues this year or perhaps even going into school year 2022. The next issue regarding our valuation revolves around Tulsa County. A few weeks ago, all of the area superintendents and CFOs were on a call with Assessor John Wright in Tulsa County, and he made the comment that our values that we just received, July of 2020, had no COVID effect in them. And so what does that mean? Well, Those numbers were derived as of January 1, 2020, before any of us even knew what COVID was, had it in our vocabulary. So his concern is when those numbers are recalculated January 1st, 2021, he is estimating a significant drop in our commercial valuation in Tulsa County. This is just his hypothesis, his estimate at this point, but he felt confident enough to share it with the area school districts as a concern. Anywhere from 20 to 30% decrease in commercial valuation, which would be a 6 to 7% total overall decrease in our value from Tulsa. This too would be devastating to the district, not only from a budgetary bottom line standpoint of not receiving those ad valorem dollars into general building and our sinking fund, but it would also have a dramatic effect on our bonding capacity. We are limited as a district for the amount of debt that we can have on our books, meaning our ability to sell bonds and repay existing debt that we have already got approval from our voters in the district. And so the coupled effect of not having these budgetary dollars flow through the district and a handicapped bonding capacity is extremely troubling. We have been in contact with legislators, been in contact with other area districts, because quite frankly, we cannot sit back and allow this to happen arbitrarily. Everyone needs to understand the long-term impacts of what this will do to area districts, not only to their budgets, but to bonding capacity. As you know, Broken Arrow went out for a lease revenue bond in 2015 to the tune of $370 million, and we have significant repayments to the trust authority that lent the money to us, authorized that debt on our behalf, and we cannot let this happen. So we're continuing to have these conversations amongst area school districts and with the assessor to let him understand and know that this would be a devastating effect to school districts.
This is a huge impact to every district in Tulsa County, right? Not just special to Broken Arrow.
It is. It would affect every single school district in Tulsa County. And Ms. Enoff, are you aware of any other county in the state of Oklahoma that has announced that they would have this?
Our friends
effect?
in Oklahoma County, in the Oklahoma City area, have not mentioned this issue at all. Obviously, I've also been in contact with Wagner County over the first issue I mentioned, and that has not been brought to my attention so far.
And normally they can only, by law, increase, what, 3% by law on your evaluation?
A 5% cap.
5% cap, but he's wanting to decrease 20 to 30%. There's no cap on the decrease, I guess?
Apparently not.
Makes
Well, how can he
perfect
do
sense.
this? Because he wants to, or, I mean?
Well, he's looking at studies from across the nation on how COVID has affected, other parts of the country, and trying to extrapolate them to Oklahoma and what he's expecting to see. And while I appreciate the forewarning and the caution and, for this to be on our radar, I don't, at this point, see any hard evidence of being able to drop the valuations that significantly. So just know that this is an ongoing conversation that we will keep at the forefront of our everything that we do going forward, because, like I said, we cannot sit back and allow this to happen, allow such a dramatic cut to our budget and our bonding capacity all in one fell swoop.
And so that the board knows, our plan is to have a conversation with him again through our TCASA group, and hopefully we can come to some kind of a reasonable conclusion. Through our superintendent's group, we did ask other counties across the state, and so far no other county has announced that they would have any kind of a cut like this. So we'll keep you updated on where that conversation goes.
Is there a date when we would know, like, as of December this, we know for sure we're getting cut this many percent valuation-wise?
Well, typically, we don't know what our new valuation will be until about the July-August timeframe. But he did say that January 1 is when they do recalculate. So I would think sometime second semester, they would have some sort of inclination on which way this is going.
So what are we voting on here?
We're voting on the estimate of needs. Okay.
Good. So just to kind of, so with both events that we're talking about, just kind of trying to be clear with that. So the impact that we could see on our general fund or maybe our carryover fund, are we talking 3 million, 5 million? I mean, what are we?
The $3.5 million in question from Wagner County goes
Mhm.
across all three funds that we collect sinking or ad valorem dollars in. So that's general, building, and our sinking fund. I've tried to get a better perspective from the assessor on what that would do to general fund, but she has not responded back with those definitive numbers. Right now, I'm estimating about $1.5 million to general fund.
Okay. That answers my question. Thank you. All right. So, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Motion and second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton,
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Ms. Roulette,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Mr. Allen.
Yes, thank you. Next item is ENF number 73.
So the next item is to ask the board to approve the operating budget for the year. So legally, with our valuations and the way our tax dollars are calculated, the ceiling for all three appropriated funds are at a much, much higher level than what we actually budget for. And the reason that is those tax dollars are calculated as if we will collect almost 100% of those ad valorem dollars that I just talked about. But we set it much lower because we know now firsthand that things happen and we have to adjust accordingly. So I will quickly go through the operating budget for school year 2021. So obviously with COVID, a lot of disruptions to operations, both in the classroom and behind the scenes. We were able to weather those challenges with our fund balance and having a secure funding source to make sure we didn't have to make any reactionary decisions. Actual revenue coming into the general fund last year at $133.5 million. Proposed revenue going into 2021, $129.6 million. So the difference is the ad valorem issue that I just discussed, as well as our state aid allocation. So far to date, we're down $2.5 million, but our midterm adjustment will likely be much more than that because of the way the enrollment numbers are shifting across the state to our virtual charter schools. You can see some of the additional costs this year because of COVID, additional PPE expenses, some of the additional precautions that we've had to make sure that we're keeping students and staff safe, opening Rosewood, having to shift some curriculum expenses to a virtual online platform. And going to the expenditure budget, we're proposing $138 million for our expenditure budget. Keep in mind, this was the approved budget for last year as well. We're proposing to keep that flat, even with receiving our stimulus funds through the federal government. We are proposing to try and absorb most of the new expenses within that, but we know that probably will not cover everything. So I am asking the board to initially approve this at 138 tonight, with the caveat that in a couple months, you may see me again when we learn more about our state funding, because to be honest, our ad valorem dollars come in January. Our midterm allocation is also released sometime in December. So there's a lot of room for variance between now and then. And so I think we all just need to be open on this may change, just like everything else COVID has brought us. So that just gives a comparison of our actual numbers over the past few years with the proposed budget. The excess revenue over expense is, again, what I discussed with the effect that not receiving all of our ad valorem dollars and our state aid cut will have to our ending fund balance. It will definitely have an effect going into school year 2022. The $3.1 million that we realized at the end of last year also goes into that for a net effect. Building fund, obviously a much smaller fund, but ad valorem dollars are just as important in this fund because this is how we maintain our buildings and this is how we make sure that our students have a safe and conducive learning environment. And for our building fund, we are projecting $5.9 million. The difference going from last year into this year was the expense of the tornado damage and the insurance premium that we received went into building fund last year, but clearly that was a one-time occurrence. And child nutrition has probably been one of the departments that has been hardest hit by COVID as far as their revenue coming in. She lost about $500,000 from the middle of March when we shut down to the end of June with revenue not coming in. And this continues to plague her today as revenue is just very slow to come in with the USDA extending their guidance on students eating for free. She's not seeing the typical large student lunch payments and the a la carte payments and all that other local money that really drove her child nutrition budget. So we're going to be carefully looking at her expenses as far as what she's spending on food and supplies as we go into the next few months. We do have some options with child nutrition that we'll continue to explore with leadership and the board to make sure that we're doing everything to maintain her program and ensure no disruption at the site level. But for the first time, I know since I started budgeting and doing this, child nutrition has always been self-sufficient. But because of COVID and what has happened, this is really the first time we've had to have the conversation that they may not be self-sufficient. They may have to lean on general fund to get through the rest of the year. And that's just an unknown at this point, but her revenue, as bad as general fund has been hit and will continue to be hit, proportionately, she's experiencing just the same thing within child nutrition.
But I think that's a substantial, I mean, that's a huge statement as well with that, because, I mean, you know, our budgets have traditionally, you know, we've had that luxury of it being self-funded, but yet indirectly now this could even further degrade our general fund. So I'm glad you're keeping an eye on that and keeping these things in perspective, because again, I don't think legislation and everybody truly understands the impact that this is having on our operations.
And Ms. Goodacre has done a tremendous job
Absolutely.
managing this.
Absolutely.
This is in no way is reflection of anything anyone has done. This is just a flat symptom of COVID and the world that we were living in, and the reality that some parents may not feel comfortable having their kids go through the school lunch line and fill out that free and reduced application to get the USDA's exemption. And Ms. Goodacre has done a tremendous job managing child nutrition over her tenure of Broken Arrow. And we have been lucky and very fortunate because of her leadership that child nutrition has been in the place that it's been. But you're exactly correct, Mr. Denton, that their problems will compound into general fund, most likely, if we don't have some sort of intervention or turnaround. May I answer any other questions about the operating budget?
I would also like to comment just one other statement that I know it was part of the presentation, but still I think it's substantial to recognize that, you know, we continue to be well below at an incredible percentage of administrative cost compared to, you know, our overall budget and stuff. And I know that was one thing that we kind of was, for the interest of time, glossed over, but I think it's an incredible declaration of having, you know, 61% of the budget on instruction, 13% on support, which is part of making instruction occur, and yet only 2.97% is in administrative costs. So hats off to the district, in my opinion, and to the team out here and yourself that contribute that much money towards education.
Thank you. Our administrative costs are definitely something to be proud of. As a district of our size, we're capped at about 5%, not about, at 5%. And during my last few years, we've never really encroached upon anything above 3.5%. And when you look at the breadth of programs and number of students and our sheer size, that's impressive. And what that tells you is every single administrator that we have in this district works incredibly hard. They're just not sitting back going to meetings and planning and strategizing. They're boots on the ground, all hands on deck to make sure that what they're doing is contributing directly to the success of our students.
I'd like to add what Mr. Denton said. That's very impressive, because when I first got on the board, the district actually had a study done showing we were too low in administrative cost. So, and it was higher then than it is now. So that just speaks volumes to the job that working lean and mean for the administrative side of the house. So that's very impressive.
Well, I think that also complements the culture you guys have created at Broken Arrow, that people want to work hard and for the success of our students. So, thank you.
Any discussion, questions?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette? Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
And my next item is to go through the financial reports through the end of August, but I feel like we've
Already-
discussed the budget.
Yeah, you just
If
did.
you have any specific questions that I can answer specifically about what's gone on through August, I'd be happy to do that. The positive thing for us is that we have started to receive some state aid, and so, you know, as you know, getting started at the school year, we're operating on very slim margins for cash flow, and so we did start to receive those state aid payments in August, and some other state sources of revenue that's helped us get started for the year.
It seems, I think if you can just keep us updated on those items of Wagner County, Tulsa County, be very helpful to us. I know Ms. Roulette had sent me an email too about how we can reach out to our state representatives, local representatives, to help assist us in any help at all in relief on those items. So if you can just continue to keep us updated on those, and we can try to do our parts on our end of the table as well to help get anyone we can to help us battle that battle.
Be happy to.
So,
They're going to get tired of hearing from Broken Arrow, but I don't care because this issue is important, and we have to have a voice at the table. You know, we entered into the motor vehicle lawsuit a couple years ago, and we're very vocal about that as well, because that hurt funding for this year's students based on a prior mistake from the past. And while that did not go in our favor, it was still very important for us to have a
Sure.
voice and a seat at the table. So we'll continue to do that with this as well.
Thank you. Next item, 75.
My next item is very positive. It's to ask the board to approve the ratification of the agreement with BAEA going into the 2021 school year. I'm happy to report that the ratification passed by 98%. And we have a couple representatives from BAEA with us, Ms. Kristen Brown and Ms. Casey Westman. Definitely want, thank you. I definitely want to thank the association for a collaborative negotiating process this year. On the district team, Ms. Kearns, Ms. James, Mr. Sagely, and Ms. Dotson represented the district and also did a fantastic job. We're very proud to announce that the salary schedule includes a step for all certified staff, as well as an additional $200 added per step. And I believe Broken Arrow is one of the few districts that went above and beyond the step increase for certified staff. So that is something to be very proud of as we continue our efforts to make sure our teachers are paid competitively. So thank you to the association for a collaborative process this year. We always enjoy learning from each other, and I know we always learn from each other.
Any discussion?
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. I think one thing we need to reiterate from the board perspective is that our goal all along is to be the highest paid in the area. Obviously, with the financial situation we're in now, these battles we're fighting, I feel very confident that we're going to continue to fight that battle to be the highest paid in this area. So just want you all to know that that's always been our goal. And none of us asked for this, none of you all, but we're going to continue to fight to get there. So.
Thank you. My next item is to ask the board to approve the renewal applications for our student achievement parent organizations. As you can see, they're all listed, and every single one of the organizations that the board approved for sanctioning status last year has reapplied for that status. Last year was the first year that most of them went sanctioned, and I have to applaud Mr. Perry's team in athletics and fine arts. They have done a tremendous job of embracing this responsibility and making it very successful this year. I know that the goal of it was to allow those groups to grow outside of some of the confines of school finance and school rules and regulations, to make it a better experience for kids and to allow their programs to grow. And I heard extremely positive comments from sponsors and parents, very appreciative that the board allowed them to take this leap of faith and to do this for our students. So I ask for your approval for these renewals.
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second.
Motion and second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette? Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, 77.
My last item is to ask the board to approve track and field as a sanctioned organization for the first time in school year 2021.
All right, good deal. Another one off the books. Another one sanctioned, that's good. Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Enoff. Next item's new business. We have none. Next item will be to move to executive session.
Make a motion that we move to executive session.
I'll second that motion.
Please call the roll. Sorry.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Mr. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes,